The involuntary celibacy fringe movement, which the suspected shooter in the Toronto van attack has been linked to, is sometimes connected with the alt-right movement. Joining us now is Maxime Fizet, a former neo-Nazi who now warns of the dangers of all forms of radicalization. Thanks for joining us. When did you first become aware of the Incel movement?
Oh, a long while ago. When you study far-right movements on the internet, mostly the alt-right, it's inevitable that you will eventually stumble upon the incel. It's a pretty common concept there. Even though some people don't use it as being part of the movement, it's pretty common ground. I would actually say it's almost a meme there, since it's so common.
Mm-hmm. Now, just a bit of background here. You've said in the past that you would have killed people for your beliefs at the time. Just some insight here. What brings a person to that point?
Well, you know, it's radicalization, and the way we understand it nowadays, it's a very long process that is fueled by unfulfilled needs and by a feeling of injustice. And eventually some people will resort to violence in a way to fulfill their ideologies, but sometimes it's also a need to die, to kill oneself. It was my case. It seemed to be the case with Minassian and with Alexandre Bissonnette. When an extremist desires death, they will usually find it after killing other persons for their ideologies. I suspect this is maybe what happened in Toronto. Almost
kind of like the point of no return. Does the movement, you know, we talk about all these movements, but do they breed the hatred that leads to violence, or does the hatred and instability within someone cause them to seek out sort of a conduit for it, to give it shape, if you can say that?
Well, you know, you're right. It's a movement. It's not a group. The incel is really like what's something that we would call in French a mouvance. It's a movement, but without any structure. And most of the incel are not violent people. Well, they don't fancy themselves as violent, even though their words and ideologies can be pretty violent towards women and feminists mostly. But some of them will take this much deeper through social interaction with other incel on very dark corners of the web. And even though they're officially banned on Facebook, they still have secret Facebook groups for incels, and these are the places that they will eventually become even more and more radical and possibly more violent, to a point that some of them, such as Elliot Rodger and Minassian, will eventually commit violence for this ideology.
I guess that's the big question now, is how to suppress it. Facebook has gone to some lengths to ban incel content. Should there be forums? Get your opinion on this. Should there be forums for people to express these ideas, or is it you know, necessary to smother what many would call free expression?
Well, I suppose that you can't really stop it. If it's not on Facebook, it's going to be on 4chan, on 8chan, on Gab, on Reddit, whatever. So Facebook is already doing a tremendous job trying to suppress extremist accounts, but gray zones still exist, and dark zones even still exist, something that you could call the dark Facebook, and those are secret groups, because Facebook is very rarely monitoring groups that are secret because of lack of signaling. People who are taking part in these groups will not signal the posts there, obviously, so Facebook has no knowledge of these groups. So maybe an algorithm taking into account some keywords and key accounts could, I don't know, sniff out these groups and eventually get rid of the most problematic elements. But I still believe that there's a place for free speech, because the incel, although an unsympathetic bunch, are actually feeling real hardship in life, and are a group that is just as worthy as any other to receive help. And we're losing a significant part of our young males here in these alt-right related groups because of a feeling of injustice that they feel, on which we could work together.
All right, thank you very much. Anti-radicalization advocate Maxime Fizet tonight.